My name is Emma, I'm 32, and my own mother told me I wasn't welcome at my little sister's wedding. Before I tell you how that led to an explosive family intervention and 32 missed calls in one night, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. It's always cool to see how far these stories travel. The silence in my apartment after that phone call, it was deafening. It felt like the end of everything. How did it even get to this point? For as long as I can remember, my family had roles. My little sister, Sophia, was the golden child, the artist. My parents, Victoria and Robert, were her biggest fans. And I was the responsible one. The problem solver. The financial safety net. I remember when I was 16, I'd saved up almost $500 from my part-time job at the diner for the senior class trip. It was all I could think about. Then one day, Sophia, who was 13, came home with a brochure for a prestigious summer art camp. Her eyes were shining, but she tossed it on the counter. "It's way too expensive," she sighed. I saw the look on my mom's face, a flicker of disappointment for her prodigy. That night, I slid an envelope with all my cash under Sophia's door. I ate ramen for a month, but seeing her paintings from that camp made it feel worth it. At the next family gathering, I listened as my mom, Victoria, bragged to my aunts about Sophia's raw, natural talent. My sacrifice was invisible. It always was. This became the pattern of our lives. I moved to Boston, built a successful career as a financial consultant, but I was always on call. I co-signed for Sophia's first apartment. I helped my dad figure out his retirement accounts. I was the family's unofficial CFO. My boyfriend, Tyler, saw it clearly. Just a few months ago, we were making dinner and he asked me gently, "Babe, when was the last time Sophia called just to see how you are?" Without needing something? The question hung in the air, because we both knew the answer. When Sophia got engaged to Nathan, a great guy she met at a gallery, I was thrilled for her. She asked me to be her maid of honor, and for a glorious few weeks, it was perfect. We were pinning dresses on Pinterest, laughing over brunch, just like when we were kids. Then, my mother took over. Slowly, I was pushed out. The first real sting was seeing an Instagram post. It was a picture of my mom, Sophia, and my cousin Megan at a tasting for the wedding cake. The caption read, "Fun day with my girls." I wasn't invited. When I called Sophia, her voice was distant. "Oh, it was just a last-minute thing, Em. Mom just dragged me along." The excuses started piling up. Communication became vague. Plans were changed without telling me. The breaking point came after I overheard my mother on the phone with Megan, saying they needed to minimize my involvement. I felt a cold dread creep up my spine. I called Sophia and said we needed to talk. She told me to come to our parents' house. I should have known it was a trap. I walked into the living room and it felt like an ambush. My mother sat on the sofa, a smug little smile on her face. My dad was staring intently at his shoes. Sophia was looking out the window, refusing to meet my eyes. The air was thick with something toxic. Victoria didn't waste any time. "Emma," she began, her voice dripping with false sweetness, "we've all agreed. It's just better if you're not at the wedding." I stared at her, confused. "What are you talking about?" "Not as maid of honor?" Her smile widened. "Not as maid of honor. Not as a bridesmaid. Not even as a guest. You cause too much drama. It's Sophia's special day." I looked at my sister. "Sophia?" I whispered. She just shrugged, still staring out the window. I looked at my dad, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on earth. I looked back at my mother, the architect of this entire nightmare. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. A strange, cold calm washed over me. I just nodded. "Okay," I said, my voice even. And I turned around and walked out. I got in my car and drove home in complete silence. I walked into my apartment, straight to my computer. My hands weren't even shaking. That $9,200 honeymoon fund I'd set up for them? I logged into my bank. Transfer. Confirm. The luxury flights to Bali I'd booked in my mother's name, using my travel points? Click. Cancel reservation. Confirm. The $2,800 I'd paid for the photographer's deposit? I sent him an email explaining the situation and asking for a partial refund if possible. With every click, it felt like I was severing a rope that had been around my neck for 30 years. Then, after the last email was sent, the adrenaline wore off. And the pain hit me like a physical blow. I buried my face in my hands and for the first time that night, I let myself sob. The deep, ugly cries of someone whose heart had just been shattered by the people who were supposed to love her most. My boyfriend Tyler found me like that. He didn't say anything. He just wrapped his arms around me and let me fall apart. Meanwhile, miles away, my mother's phone buzzed with an email notification, flight cancellation notice. As I later found out, her smug satisfaction turned to pure fury. The calls started coming in. One after another. I ignored them all. The real bombshell landed at 3:42 a.m. My phone lit up with a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was Sophia. "Emma, I'm so sorry. Mom lied to us both. She's been showing me fake texts from you. We need to talk. Just us." It turned out, the final straw for Sophia wasn't the money. It was what my mother said right after I left their house. With a triumphant smile, Victoria had turned to her and said, "See? I told you she'd make it all about herself. Now we can give Megan the maid of honor spot she deserves." The casual cruelty of it, the blatant replacement, it finally broke the spell my mother had on her. Sophia realized this was never about protecting the wedding. It was about erasing me. That's when she started digging. We agreed to a meeting. Not at my parents' house, but at a neutral location, my Aunt Patricia's. It wasn't just going to be me and Sophia. I told her to bring Nathan. I brought Tyler. And my aunt, who had seen my mother's manipulations for years, was our witness. My parents were summoned. The moment they walked in, my mother started in on me. "I cannot believe the selfishness, Emma. To ruin your sisters." "No," I said, my voice cutting through the air. "You don't get to talk first. Not this time." Sophia, my brave little sister, stood up. "Mom, let her speak." The room fell silent. "You told everyone I was unstable," I said, looking right at Victoria. "You told everyone I was jealous and dramatic." I turned to Nathan. "Isn't that right, Nathan? Didn't my mother tell you I was trying to sabotage your wedding?" Nathan looked uncomfortable, but he nodded. "She did, Emma." I didn't believe her. Then came the final blow. Sophia stepped forward, holding her phone. "This," she said, her voice shaking, "is what Mom showed me. A text where you said the wedding was tacky." She then held my phone right next to hers. "And this is the real text you sent me. The one where you said you were so happy for me." The screen showed two completely different conversations. The illusion was shattered. My mother's face went white. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She tried to play the victim, of course. Tears, accusations, the works. But the real shock came from the person who had been silent for 30 years, my father. He stood up, his hands trembling. His voice, when he spoke, was raspy but clear. "Enough, Victoria." Everyone froze. I have let this go on for too long. This ends today." He looked at my mother, his wife of 35 years, and delivered the ultimatum that changed everything. We are going to get professional help. All of us. Or I'm going to stay with Patricia. Your choice. The fight went out of my mother's eyes. It wasn't my evidence that defeated her. It was the loss of her lifelong enabler. Her power had vanished. 3 months later, I stood beside Sophia as her maid of honor, adjusting her veil. The tension was gone, replaced by the easy, familiar love I had missed so much. "Thank you, Em," she whispered, "for not giving up on me." At the reception, my mother approached me. She didn't apologize. I didn't expect her to. Instead, she silently handed me a small, wrapped gift. I opened it later. It was a digital photo frame already loaded with a single picture, a photo of the two of us at the beach when I was about 5 years old, both of us laughing. She didn't say a word. She didn't have to. It was the smallest of cracks in her armor, but it was a start. My dad later told me they had their first therapy session scheduled for the following week. Later that night, as Tyler and I were slow dancing, he leaned in and whispered, "I want to build a life with you." I smiled, a real, genuine smile that reached my eyes. "Yes," I whispered back. "On one condition, our wedding planning committee has a maximum of 2 people. Today, I have 2 photos on my mantelpiece. One is a candid shot of me and Sophia, laughing uncontrollably at her wedding. The other is that picture of 5-year-old me and my mom. I've learned that forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean letting people hurt you again. I learned that boundaries aren't walls to keep love out. They're the foundations you build to let the healthiest version of it in." Thank you all so much for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to share, but I feel like it's important. My question for you all is, have you ever had to set a tough, life-changing boundary with someone you love? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more. It really helps the channel. I'll see you in the next one.